Earlier today, a federal judge in the Eastern District of Virginia ruled that Google holds illegal monopolies in publisher ad servers and ad exchanges. This is the second major antitrust loss for Google in the past year, as a separate federal judge ruled that they've been exploiting their dominance in online search to crush the competition last summer. The immediate impact wasn't that wild. Google's parent, Alphabet, only dropped 1.4%, as some of its competitors put up big gains. But the longer-term implications here are enormous. We've got two different federal courts ordering Google to either sell assets or change its business practices. It's not a good sign for the company that they keep losing these antitrust cases. Fortunately, tonight, we have the perfect guest to walk us through this. CNBC contributor Jonathan Kanter is the former Assistant Attorney General for the Antitrust Division under the Biden administration, who originally brought this exact case against Google. Mr. Kanter, welcome back to Mad Money.
Great to be back with you, Jim.
Well, it is terrific to see you, Jonathan. I figured, if you don't mind, could you walk us through what happened here? Because this was a huge victory, and a lot of times Wall Street doesn't seem to understand how big something can be.
This is an enormous victory for the Department of Justice and state attorneys general. Essentially, when we think about advertising, people often think madmen. But it's actually more like an equities or commodities exchange. People buy and sell ads the way they would stocks or commodities. And the allegations here were that Google represented the buyers, they represented the sellers, they own the ad exchange, they bought and sold on their own ad exchange, and they manipulated markets. And the judge agreed with us.
Well, if that's the case, anybody who used their exchange, I think, is aggrieved and has a right to be able to get some money back.
The consequences here are enormous. So let's think about publishers, people in the news industry. They create original content, news, do work really hard to bring information to society. And they need to monetize that through advertising. They rely on this infrastructure that Google provides. And today the court concluded that they have been wronged and that publishers are making less money because Google has monopolized the advertising infrastructure and machinery.
Well, it's pretty clear that until this, I think a lot of people didn't realize that if Google took both sides, they can pretty much hide how much they make if they want to. I'm sure hide's a pejorative. They can make as much as they want, basically. But if there were two different representatives, one representing the publisher and one representing the advertiser, the publisher would get a fairer price, and the advertiser could get a fairer price. But the only people who get a fair price right now is Google.
It's common sense, right? The buyers are using Google as a representative. The publishers, the sellers are using Google as a representative. Google's coming up with the algorithms that determine the terms of trading, and then they're buying and selling on their own market in order to pump or de-inflate or deflate demand or supply at any given moment in time. These are basic principles that were violated, and the trust of the industry has been violated.
But, Jonathan, I would think everyone's just saying, oh, big deal, it doesn't matter. But when I think about it, one of the remedies could be that Google can only be on one side. If that's the case, then Google is much less lucrative a company.
That's exactly right. And it's important, you mentioned in your opening, Jim, that this is now the second case in less than a year that the Department of Justice won to find that Google has violated the antitrust laws as a monopoly in advertising. The first case involves search advertising. This case involves advertising everywhere else on the internet. Where does Google make money? Advertising. It has monopolized, the antitrust cases here go to the monopoly around Google's core businesses, the core businesses that generate revenue, advertising. The remedies in both of these cases are going to deal with advertising.
I think that there are a lot of people who are pretty jaded. They've seen court decisions, and the court decisions don't really impact anything. Or in the end, hey, listen, the company's worth more. That's an in-the-end situation. I looked at this and I said, now, wait a second. Google is an immensely lucrative company, but it is, according to the other decision, a monopolist. And in our country, you are not allowed to be a monopolist, which does not mean, therefore, let's find even more ways to have you make money. It means that we're going to punish you.
Well, this is about exploitation of that monopoly power. And so Google not only illegally maintained its monopoly, but it used that monopoly to screw over others in the industry. And the interesting thing here, Jim, is now this is the third antitrust case in a row that Google has lost. There's the search case that we brought at DOJ. There's the ad tech case that we just won today. But right before that was a case that Epic Games brought against Google for abusing its app store and overcharging developers. And it lost that case too.
Now, I've studied antitrust with Phil Reed, a smart fella. Wish he were still with us. But more importantly, I've read the book about Standard Oil. And I read Tarbell, but of course, I've read Chernow. And one thing is certain, that when you're a monopolist, you drive others out of business. It's not just that you get it and it's like really terrific because you earned it. It's because you drove others out. I question, has Google driven or almost driven many companies out that did a lot of things, both publishers and companies that tried to help publishers get the best amount for the writer's work?
That's exactly what happened in this case. So Google monopolized the exchanges and the tools that publishers rely on to make more money, that advertisers rely on for fair dealing, right? This is so, and the result of that, and this is something we're seeing throughout the economy, frankly, is these intermediaries, these middlemen are grabbing out more money out of the system, and the people who actually make the products, in this case news publishers and other content providers, are getting less for their return on investment for their original content because the infrastructure is being monopolized and they're being overcharged and underpaid.
Now, Jonathan, one of the things that happened are companies that do represent one side, their stocks went up. And I wonder whether that's in part because maybe there are some people who are recognizing, hey, maybe we're being ripped off. I mean, no judge would rule in favor of the government unless they thought that we were being ripped off.
Yes, somebody's ox is always being gored in an antitrust case. And so who is being harmed here? Well, it's the entire ecosystem. It's the inability of publishers to get a return on investment. It's the inability of other ad exchanges who might want to offer better matching, better services at better prices, which the court found, being excluded from the market, which the court found they were. And then, of course, it's the opportunity for advertisers to get access to all of that infrastructure. That's real harm for real people. Think about advertising, again, whether it's search advertising or others. It's actually one of the most significant costs for most businesses. Lead generation, online advertising, it's for all businesses, not just online businesses. The corner store needs search and display advertising in order to drive people to their shops. This is one of the most significant costs for businesses and one of the most significant costs in our economy. And this case is really important to help reduce those costs and open the market up for businesses who want to innovate, compete, and take advantage of advertising in order to drive customers.
All right, one last question. The cynicism is just so rife. I heard over and over again, well, it's a justice system. It's going to be a year. It's going to be maybe 2. You're not going to have to even worry about it. When I read the decision, and the previous decision, by the way, I didn't feel that way at all. I felt that there might be some expedience here because of the harm and because the idea is, sure, you can appeal, but the justice system doesn't always crawl. Sometimes it acts with alacrity. Is there a chance that this goes faster than the cynics think?
Absolutely. So sometimes the wheels of justice move at the speed of a Pinto. This case moved at the speed of a Ferrari. We filed it in January 2023, and now we have a decision here in 2025, and we're going to move to remedies. The remedies in this case, as well as the search case, are going to be forward-looking in nature. They're not going to deal with the market as it was when the case was filed, but it's going to deal with the market as it exists today, and it will exist in the future. That means the infrastructure for selling advertising against AI, for example, is going to be highly relevant to formulating the remedies in this case, and hopefully will create opportunities for new businesses, new technologies, and new innovations to monetize AI through advertising through means other than Google.
I mean, that'd be great. I've just got to ask this one last thing. I've been following the career of Mr. Vance, Vice President Vance. He completely agrees with your view, from what I understand. And I wanted to know, people should know that this new Justice Department isn't going to walk away from this. They actually share your orientation.
Yeah, well, I certainly wouldn't speak for this Justice Department, but I will say that so far, all signs are that this Justice Department and this administration will continue to support the work that we've done. I will say, when I was in my job at the U.S. Department of Justice, I received bipartisan support for our antitrust cases. There is wide recognition across the political continuum that if we believe in capitalism, if we believe in businesses and markets, we need to have lines on the road. We need to have opportunities for new businesses, old businesses, and everyone in between to succeed. The antitrust laws do just that.
Well, I want to thank you, Jonathan, for explaining to people. There are way too many people who don't understand the importance of this. Now, I will confess, I mean, as the person who started TheStreet.com, I saw this happen, never thought that the government would ever figure it out, didn't know that the government could be smarter than the people who are doing this. Jonathan Kanter is the former Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust at the Department of Justice, and I am proud to say he is now a CNBC contributor. Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jim. Great to be with you always.
Absolutely. Mad Money's back after the break.